the Supreme Court has agreed to club all the FIRs against Nupur Sharma, and the Delhi police is going to investigate the matter. Your thoughts?
देखिए, कोर्ट के तमाम आदेश पूरा देश सम्मान करता है, लेकिन जो कुछ उन्होंने किया है वो निंदनीय है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट खुद ही कह चुका है कि जो कुछ हो रहा है देश में वो उनके बयान की वजह से हो रहा है। अफसोस की बात यह है कि कोर्ट का फैसला क्या आता है, पुलिस क्या इन्वेस्टिगेशन करती, वो एक अलहदा सवाल है, लेकिन उनकी गिरफ्तारी तक तो हुई नहीं है, तो क्या उम्मीद की जा सकती है? उन्हें अरेस्ट तक नहीं किया गया है। क्या इस देश के अंदर यही होगा कि एक दूसरे के देवी देवताओं प्रॉफिट के खिलाफ बेइज्जती की जाएगी? क्या देश इसीलिए जाना जाता है? वो कोई मुसलमान करे या हिंदू करे, उसके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई एकदम होनी चाहिए। आप आजाद हैं निश्चित तौर से, लेकिन दूसरे के जज्बात को आप ठेस नहीं पहुंचा सकते। देवी देवता प्रॉफिट तो बहुत बड़ी चीज है। आप किसी के पेरेंट्स के बारे में कुछ कह के दिखा दीजिए, उसका क्या नतीजा निकलेगा?
राशिद जी, वैसे आज की मैं पूरी बहस कोर्ट के ऑर्डर पे रखना चाहती थी, लेकिन एक सवाल है जो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी। वारिस पठान ऑफ द AIMIM is also joining us on the broadcast. मगर राशिद जी, we can't be a nation of hurt sentiments when we talk about democratic temper, when we talk about freedom of debate. There is a certain degree of tolerance that we all allow. Whenever there is a debate on any religion, and this is not to justify Nupur Sharma in any way, but whenever there is a debate on any religion, there has to be a certain degree of tolerance.
It is all right. Everybody should have respect for not only his religion, but even the religion of others. How can you hurt sentiments of anybody? I am not talking about of Hindu. Whether you are, you cannot be allowed. Sentiments and particularly religious sentiments.
Okay, Mr. Alvi, I've taken your point. I also want to bring in Mr. Waris Pathan of the AIMIM into the discussion. Mr. Pathan, thank you so much for speaking to us. A huge relief coming in for Nupur Sharma. All the FIRs have been clubbed and Delhi police is going to investigate the matter. Your reaction, sir?
Well, see, Nupur Sharma, by her statement, has hurt the sentiments of billions of Muslims all over the world. There were FIRs registered against her, and our demand was that she should be arrested, brought before the court of law, and punished as per law. Now the honorable courts have clubbed all the matters. They will be heard by Delhi, I think. So let us hope, and we are hopeful that as Muhammad Zubair, who just wrote something and he was arrested, similarly Nupur Sharma will be arrested and let her come out on bail. Let the procedure of law take its own course. But here we would say one thing that earlier the Supreme Court has also stated, so you rather observed that Nupur Sharma, by her statement, by her words spoken, has insulted as our Prophet, peace be upon him, and because of that, the entire world, like major countries, Qatar, Kuwait and all, they had to call our ambassadors. Our ambassadors were called, and we had to face humiliation. And Modi government had to suspend Nupur and call her a fringe element. So the only thing now remains is she should be arrested as per law and dealt as per the law.
Vinod Bansal is also with us on the broadcast. Vinodji, would you want to come here? There are many questions that are being raised on the investigation that has been done by the police so far, that in various other different cases where it was about a particular kind of a speech that was made in the public domain, there were immediate arrests that done by the police authorities. That has not been followed in the case of Nupur Sharma. That's what is the argument of Mr. Waris Pathan.
No, I would like to ask him that whether, as he's asking to arrest Nupur Sharma, why he's not asking to arrest the person who instigated Nupur Sharma, and those who are continuously humiliating the Hindus and attacking on our Devi Devtas. Why he's silent, kept silent on this? Number one. Number two is that kill the lady, and they don't have even a single word to condemn them. Those who are shouting Sartan se juda.
Mr. Pathan, is the condemnation one-sided? That's what you're saying, Mr. Vinod Bansal. कि अगर एक condemnation आता है तो वो सिर्फ एक ही तरफ के argument के लिए आता है, दूसरी तरफ के लिए नहीं आता. Mr. Vinod Bansal and Mr. Varis Pathan. We also had Mr. Rashid Alvi of the Congress Party. We'll continue getting you all the reactions on the story. Once again, reiterating for all the viewers who have just tuned in, this is a huge relief coming in for the former BJP leader and spokesperson Nupur Sharma. She moved an application before the Supreme Court of India seeking clubbing of all the FIRs against her that were filed in different parts of the country, allegedly for hate speech and inciting of violence. She moved the Supreme Court saying that all these FIRs should be clubbed together. In the last two hearings, especially in the first hearing, the Supreme Court took a very stern view. There were observations that were made against Nupur Sharma by the bench concerned, where the court said that she was very irresponsible in the statements she had made earlier. However, looking at the threat to life that she is facing right now, multiple threat and intimidation calls that she has received so far, the court gave the matter a fresh look, a new perspective. The court said that because this matter is presently under investigation, Delhi police is the authority that should investigate all the cases. So all the FIRs clubbed together, Delhi police is going to investigate the matter now. Development number 2, which is about the quashing of the FIR. Nupur Sharma also said in her application that there is no merit in the case that has been filed against her. There is no evidence to prove that she said anything with the motive of inciting violence or as a matter of hate speech. The Supreme Court is of the view that you can take these arguments and the petition and the prayer for quashing of the FIR before the Delhi High Court, and at the Delhi High Court, you can argue there. So as far as quashing is concerned, there is no relief which is coming in for Nupur Sharma, but there is a door which is open for her. She can go to the Delhi High Court and get the relief and argue for the relief that she wants. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar has been tracking all the developments and that crucial order from the Supreme Court of India. Ananya, take us through what transpired in the court.
Well, yes, the hearing continued for almost an hour or so, and wherein the court has clearly given directions to the Delhi Police's IFSO unit. Remember that IFSO is a specialized unit of the Delhi Police and has clearly directed it to investigate all of the FIRs against Nupur Sharma. In fact, it has also stated that all of these cases shall be clubbed and be brought before the Delhi Police's special cells IFSO unit. And in fact, it is also directed that in case she wants to seek a squashing of all of these FIRs, then it is the Delhi High Court where she has to approach. And what more has been said by the court is that in view of the threat to her life, all of these cases have been now transferred to the national capital, though the West Bengal government is giving out a lot of opposition to the relief that has been granted to Nupur Sharma. The court was inclined to pass this order and has now clearly stated that all of these cases would be transferred to the national capital. Anusha.
Ananya, what was the objection that the West Bengal government had? Ujjwal Nikam is also with us on the broadcast. Catch your breath, Ananya. I'll come back to you. You know, that hearing that went in the court, as Ananya was pointing out, for roughly 1 hour, there were arguments that were made on all the sides. And then, as Ananya was pointing out, there was an opposition that came from the side of the West Bengal government. Justice Kant and Justice Pardiwala were the judges who were hearing this matter. Ananya, coming back to you, the objections from the West Bengal Government Council. Tell us about that.
Well, yes, the West Bengal government was essentially arguing that the most important impact, the most impact of the statements of Nupur Sharma has been in the state of West Bengal, and hence these cases shall not be transferred to Delhi. And in fact, it was also pointed out by senior advocate Menaka Guruswamy, who is appearing for the West Bengal government, that the maximum impact of her statement is in West Bengal, and the first FIR that has been registered against her in the national capital was actually filed by her itself, and that's the reason that the cases should not be transferred to the national capital. She was seeking as to either the cases are transferred to Maharashtra, wherein the second FIR was registered against her, or to the state of West Bengal, where the maximum impact is there. It was a clear statement made by Menaka Guruswamy that there was a maximum impact and in the state of West Bengal, while the first FIR where she's an accused was in Maharashtra. Delhi is not even on the list of this, and hence the cases shall not be transferred to Delhi. But then the court took a view of the serious life threat that Nupur Sharma is facing and has now transferred all of these cases to the Delhi Police's Special Cells IFSO unit, that is the Intelligence Fusion and Strategic Operations unit of the Special Cell of the Delhi Police. Remember that this is a specialized unit which deals into cybercrime, which deals into social media and all of the kind of the new age media that is existing. It investigates cases relating to the cyber criminals, and hence this is the reason the court noted that it's a specialized agency, and that's why the cases have been transferred to the IFSO unit. The IFSO unit is also given the power to call upon the West Bengal or any kind of the police officials, all the people or the FIR content people in the other states as well, in case they feel it necessary. The Delhi Police's IFSO would be investigating all of these cases, whether the cases are registered in Bengal, whether in Maharashtra or any other part of the country, including the national capital. And now she can approach the Delhi High Court seeking a quashing of all of these FIRs. Since all of these FIRs are clubbed, the Delhi High Court is the forum where Nupur Sharma can go and seek her remedy.
Ananya, let's also take our viewers through what were the grounds that Nupur Sharma highlighted before the Supreme Court, that the court should give a fresh look at her petition of clubbing all the FIRs together. In your reportage, you pointed out how the threat to her life and the sort of intimidation she's facing is one of the principal issues that the court looked at.
Well, this is exactly the major reason why, in fact, the Supreme Court has granted her this relief today, and why a July 19 order was also passed. Because remember, this is the same bench which had passed scathing observations against Nupur Sharma. It was the same bench which had called her a loose tongue and, in fact, said that she is responsible for the Udaipur killings. But then later on, when she approached the Supreme Court again on July 19, the Supreme Court, noting that there is a serious threat to her life, not even before the order, but then even after the order of the topmost court of the country, the threats had increased. The Supreme Court took a strong view of it. The same bench of Justice Suryakant, Justice J.B. Pardewala, granted her interim protection from arrest then, and today a big relief has been granted to her by a way of clubbing of these FIRs. Another very important case that has been cited by Mr. Maninder Singh, who was appearing for Nupur Sharma, was of Mohammad Zubair, which the Supreme Court has very recently granted. In fact, Justice Chandrachud-led bench had, in fact, noted that there is a vicious cycle going on against the people where multiple FIRs are registered. And this is the particular reason why this case was cited, because there are also multiple FIRs against Nupur Sharma. So this is the reason why Mr. Maninder Singh cited this particular case. And the bench also in its order today noted the observations made in that order of Mohammad Zubair, wherein the bench, while dictating its order today, said that we are adopting one of the views of our coordinate bench, which was indicating to that of Justice Chandrachud's bench, and now the relief has been granted to her.
Ananya, it's also pertinent to take our viewers through who were the different parties in the case. You pointed out to the arguments of the West Bengal government that were made by one of the senior advocates. There is, of course, the argument that must have come from the side of the union. Who were the different parties in the case? What were the arguments of the various states which were before the court?
Well, majorly the arguments were between Ms. Nupur Sharma's counsel, Mr. Maninder Singh, the senior advocate, and Ms. Menika Guruswamy, who was opposing that on the part of the state of West Bengal, while there was also Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who was appearing for the Union of India, clearly who had not said much about it, but was in the favor of, in fact, clubbing of these FIRs, because he was also appearing for the national capital. He was appearing for the Delhi police, which was actually to investigate this case first, because the first FIR has been registered against her in the national capital itself. So that's the party's sum up that has been there. Advocate Rahul Chitnis was also appearing for the Maharashtra government. However, he didn't argue since the Solicitor General was there, and various other advocates were appearing for the different governments, whether it's West Bengal, whether it's Maharashtra or the state of Uttar Pradesh. Ms. Garima Prasad was appearing for the state of Uttar Pradesh. But the major arguments happened between senior advocate Maninder Singh, Menika Guruswamy and the Solicitor General.
Menika Guruswamy, I'm just going to give a recap of what Ananya Bhatnagar, my colleague who's reporting all the developments from the Supreme Court, is telling us, that largely the arguments were between Mr. Maninder Singh, he's one of the senior advocates, also of course one of the top lawyers, and Menika Guruswamy, who appeared on this on behalf of the state of West Bengal. The key argument was that the jurisdiction will not lie with the Delhi police, because West Bengal is one state which has registered an FIR. The argument was about whether the FIR should be clubbed and which will be the correct agency to really investigate the matter. If you look at the crux of the order, and if you try to understand why the court has made a departure from what it said about 2 hearings ago, which was to pull up Nupur Sharma for the way she spoke, the court today takes note of the unprecedented threat to life that she faces right now. Intimidation, threats coming in from different quarters, her family under threat. All of these factors were taken into account by the Supreme Court of India, and hence this order has been passed. Ananya, I'm coming back to you. Let's talk about another facet of this order, which is about the quashing of the FIR. Nupur Sharma is free to move the Delhi High Court for seeking quashing of the FIR. That door has been kept ajar by the Supreme Court of India. How crucial is that development?
Well, this is a very, very crucial aspect of this order. The quashing has been sent to the national capital because remember, Nupur Sharma is a resident of the national capital and she can approach the Delhi High Court. But in case this order would not have been passed, in case she would have to approach various high courts in the country, she would have to go to Calcutta to get the FIRs registered in West Bengal to be quashed against her. She would have to approach the Bombay High Court in a case of the Maharashtra FIRs and so on and so forth. But now, since the orders of the Delhi High Court are there, the FIRs are already clubbed and now all of these cases have been transferred to the Delhi Police Special Cells IFSO unit, the Intelligence Fusion Strategic Operations unit, the Delhi Police Special Cell. Now all of these cases have been transferred to the national capital. All of these cases would now be heard by the Delhi High Court, and any kind of quashing she wants, whether it's in the FIR that's been registered in Maharashtra, whether it's in West Bengal, the final forum for this would be the Delhi High Court. And in case the High Court refuses to quash this, the next step would be to approach the Supreme Court or in a revision before the Delhi High Court. And now the doors are clearly open for Nupur Sharma to knock the doors of the Delhi High Court and seek a quashing of these FIRs that have been registered against her with regards to the TV debate that had happened, and following which multiple cases were registered against her, not only in the national capital, 2 FIRs in the national capital, 8 in the state of West Bengal, and some others in the state of Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh as well. In fact, a very, very crucial aspect of this order is also that any FIR that is registered after the passing of this order or in the near future in connection to this incident would also be clubbed and would be investigated only and only by the special cell of the Delhi police.
And that is why, Ananya, that order of Mohammad Zubair is also very important, and we should also not forget that Supreme Court on Monday had granted interim protection to one of the journalists as well who was part of this TV debate from multiple FIRs, complaints that were registered over the remarks made by Nupur Sharma. So the other panelist who was on the broadcast, who was allegedly responsible for what had happened, was granted some kind of protection and relief by the Supreme Court, and by the same ratio, Nupur Sharma also today has been granted that relief. We'll continue this discussion with my colleague and our guest here on the broadcast. We are slipping into a very short break.
Multiple types of warship and aircraft participated in the drill, focusing on air control operations, in-flight refueling, air support for naval units and other training subjects. Taiwan's foreign minister said that China aims to control the East and South China Sea via the Taiwan Strait.
China may try to routinize its actions in an attempt to wreck the long-term status quo across the Taiwan Strait.
Taiwan on its part is getting battle ready, holding live-fire artillery drills. The training is being used to test combat readiness in response to Chinese aggression post Nancy Pelosi's visit.
Amid tensions between Taipei and Beijing, there are fears that Xi Jinping may be going the Vladimir Putin way. Russia's Z symbol was seen on Chinese military cars. These military vehicles were spotted in the Fujian province. In fact, the Chinese military activity has increased in Fujian, which is the southernmost province closest to the Taiwan Straits, as it were. The Russian military operations in Ukraine were symbolized by the Z symbol. In fact, Russian armored vehicles in Ukraine were all painted with the symbol Z. At least 8 people were killed and 6 others missing in South Korea as heavy rainfall inundated the greater Seoul area. The downpour submerged roads, flooded metro stations. It caused blackouts across the city. Some areas received the highest rainfall they've seen in 80 years. Former U.S. President Donald Trump claims that his Florida home in Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI. Trump said a large group of FBI agents were at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach and had broken open a safe. The search was reportedly linked to an investigation into his handling of classified material while he was in office. 23-time Grand Slam winner Serena Williams has announced that she's planning to retire from tennis after the upcoming US Open. In an article in Vogue magazine, the 40-year-old said that though she will try to win the US Open, it's time for her to move in a different direction. She said that she will evolve away from tennis and focus on other things that are important to her. Superstar Shah Rukh Khan lost his cool when a fan tried to forcefully stop him for a picture at the Mumbai airport. The actor was accompanied by his sons Aryan and Abram. While walking out of the airport, suddenly a fan tried to hold SRK's hand and take a selfie. A visibly angry SRK shook off his hand. Aryan was then seen calming his father down. The streets of Punjab's Firozpur witnessed a dramatic car chase straight out of Fast and Furious.
Two men in a white sedan refused to stop at a police barricade despite being flagged to, so the police decided to follow them in an SUV. The car first brushed a scooter on the side, causing the woman riding it to fall off. At a busy junction, the sedan got stuck behind another car. That's when a cop with a gun in his hand jumped out of the police car behind. The cop pointed the gun at the two men inside the car, but even then the driver barged his way through the car in front. The cop was determined to stop the two men, fired at their tires, puncturing them. But the car still kept going as he chased the vehicle on foot. The two men were finally arrested after driving another 10 kilometers. 10 grams of heroin was recovered from them.
A pedestrian was mowed down in Kolkata by a teen driver in a Jaguar. The accused, who had got his license just last year, was driving his
Welcome back, and we continue to track that very crucial order that has come in from the Supreme Court of India. The top court has passed an order giving relief to the former BJP leader Nupur Sharma, granting her relief in terms of clubbing of all the FIRs that were filed against her. This involves multiple offences of alleged incitement to violence and hate speech that were registered after a TV news program. Nupur Sharma, in her application, said that there is an imminent threat to her life and hence the Supreme Court should grant her that relief. Delhi police is going to investigate the matter, and for quashing of the FIR, she can move the Delhi High Court. Ishkaran Bhandari, who's a lawyer, is joining us on the broadcast. Ishkaran, thank you so much for speaking to us. Good evening and welcome to CNN News 18. It's a relief coming in for Nupur Sharma finally from the Supreme Court of India. Your first thoughts on the order?
My first thoughts on the order is that it's complete justice. It's an extremely fair order, and it is in line with well-settled principles of law. Forget this case. If any person has multiple FIRs on the same incident, the Honorable Supreme Court has ruled that only one investigation should go on, which is very simple because you don't want to waste police resources. You don't want to waste judicial resources. Otherwise, we are living in an age of social media. Everything can result in 200 FIRs. Which would basically be denying a person the rights of procedural fairness. Anything you speak on social media, technically by old rules, if somebody feels it's an offense, can register 500 FIRs all across the country. That is clearly not tenable in the age of social media. Forget social media offenses, even other offenses. If it's one offense, it is usually one investigation, which is your right to Article 21, your right to life, your right to procedure established by law. So this is a well-settled Honorable Supreme Court has applied in this case. In this case, there were also extremely serious circumstances. You have all covered and in detail how people have lost their lives in this issue, how there is a grave threat to the life of Nupur Sharma. People are openly calling for extreme levels of violence, which we don't want to repeat here. So in those circumstances, Supreme Court is obviously going to consider those factors which were brought in additional affidavits before the Honorable Supreme Court. And thus, the Honorable Supreme Court has clubbed all the investigations and transferred it into one jurisdiction. I do not see how anybody can have objection to that.
No, I agree with you there. I agree with you there, Ishkaran, that one can't understand why somebody would have an objection to that, because it's not that the criminal investigation has stopped. But we can't forget that various twists and turns this matter has taken, especially ever since it reached the Supreme Court of India. In the first hearing, the court was not very happy with how Nupur Sharma conducted herself. There were many observations that came against her. In the second hearing, these multiple instances of threat and intimidation were pointed out. And now finally, she's gotten relief from the Supreme Court. clubbing of FIRs is an ordinary CRPC process. It happens very ordinarily in different courts. Why was it so difficult for Nupur?
Sometimes, as the Honorable Supreme Court also, because the order is just to come in, but as in the last hearing, let me say, as the Honorable Supreme Court itself said, we will not leave anybody remediless. So the effect of what happened was that somebody was getting left remediless because that person is under grave threat of life and cannot approach all the high courts. And that's been well documented. It's not a case of threat to her life. Even threat to life, people who have supported her has been well documented by you on various debates. So that threat existing, it became impossible for her to approach various high courts. Thus, the matters have been clubbed, and now one jurisdiction will do it, and one high court will hear all the related matters which may arise from it. If somebody, Nupur Sharma or somebody else, wants to challenge something, either in the trial court or in the high court, which is their right, because Nupur Sharma, of course, has the right on any FIR to seek quashing, which she may well choose to seek in the Honorable High Court. Somebody may file some other petition, but now at least there is clarity as to which agency will do the investigation, which courts will have jurisdiction, which I think is an ordinary relief which should be given to all citizens irrespective of offense. For one offense, there has to be only one FIR.
For one offense, one FIR. That's the rule of law in this country. Mr. Ratan Sharda is also joining us on the broadcast. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to us. Finally, a relief of sort. Not that the criminal investigation will stop or the process of law will not take its course, but all the FIRs have been clubbed for Nupur Sharma. This is a relief that she wanted for long. Your first thoughts?
I think it's, of course, I have to welcome this particular decision. My only regret is that so many weeks were lost and the person was put to hardships and mental tension, though there were precedences already of various judgments being clubbed together. Despite this, the kind of language used at that time, which inflamed people's passion, which was used against her by all the critics, all the opposition in every possible public platform, and this created havoc with her life and also with the society. Keeping that in mind, I think Supreme Court has also done itself a good turn by turning back its earlier decision and reviewing the decision and finally giving her the much required relief.
Mr. Sharda, in this...
and I would also like to add that today Professor Vara Rao has also been given permanent bail on health ground. The person who actually was supposed to be involved in arms runs for the Naxals.
Mr. Sharda, I just have one very humble objection to that analysis. Is that the offences for which Mr. Rao is being tried and booked are far, far serious than what has happened in the case of Nupur Sharma?
Yeah, exactly. Point is that Supreme Court has used same logic. So will people also object to his bail? That is what I meant. I am not getting into the details of his case right now. Point is, Supreme Court has taken a uniform stand only in case of Nupur Tiwari. The stand was very much against their own earlier precedents, and that is why havoc was created. I have just said that they have again shown that they will take uniform stand, which I welcome. I may have objection to Mr. Vara Rao, but today I am just citing it, an example of a common ground that the Supreme Court has used, which it could have used earlier also.
Mr. Sharda, I'm short of time, but I do want your reaction on the sort of threat and intimidation that Nupur Sharma has been facing. And in fact, this is one of the key grounds that the court looked at, considered while passing its order today.
It is not just Nupur Sharma. In her name, people have been killed, beheaded, citing the kind of words used by judiciary earlier and by the opposition. And nobody condemned, hardly anybody condemned it. The threat to her was visible right from day one, which was deliberately instigated by people like Muhammad Zubair, who picked up a clip and then made it viral. So these kind of people deserve much more harsher punishment and law than the one which was a result of a debate which was going for 2 weeks when Hindus were abused, insulted, and debased for 2 weeks, and their gods were made fun of. Despite all these provocations, the conditions were not looked in by the various courts, and the forum she has gone is the only forum she could have gone. She couldn't have gone to different states to club her cases. Every other person who has gone has always gone to Supreme Court. So the way she was insulted for going to Supreme Court, the way today Bengal government is trying to twist the case and score some stupid secular points has been exposed today.
All right, Mr. Ratan Sharda, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Ishkaran Bhandari was also with us on the show. I also want to once again go back to my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar. Ananya, we have last 2 minutes on the show. Can you wrap up for our viewers all that transpired at the Supreme Court and what are the grounds on which the top court has given relief to Nupur Sharma?
Well, yes, the Supreme Court has very categorically clubbed all the FIRs that have been registered against Nupur Sharma to the national capital. All of these FIRs would now be investigated by the special cell of the Delhi police. It is the specific unit, the IFSO, that is the Intelligence Fusion and Strategic Operations Unit of the Delhi police special cell, specialized in cyber crimes, that would be investigating all of these cases, whether it's in West Bengal, whether it's in Maharashtra or any part of the country. All of the FIRs, whether registered till now or to be registered later, would be investigated by the said authority. Apart from that, the court has also extended the order of interim protection from arrest against Nupur Sharma. No coercive action to be taken against her. In fact, it is also directed that she can now approach the Delhi High Court seeking quashing of all of these FIRs before the Delhi High Court itself. The major reason for granting all of this is the grave threat to her life, and it was even after the West Bengal government, through senior advocate Menaka Guruswamy, constantly opposed and made a prayer that a specific SIT, the court-monitored SIT, should be set up in order to investigate all of these cases, and also that the maximum impact of all of these statements of Nupur Sharma on those TV debates were in the state of West Bengal. The court did not take those submissions and clearly has now transferred all of these cases to the national capital, and now Nupur Sharma can approach the Delhi High Court for seeking quashing of these cases.
Ananya Bhatnagar reporting from the Supreme Court. We also had multiple political and legal voices joining us here on the broadcast. All the perspective and voices here on CNN News 18. We're slipping into a very short break. News continues on the other side with my colleague Anand Narasimhan.
Military ships and planes across the midline that separates the two sides in the Taiwan Strait and launched missiles into the water surrounding the island. Multiple types of warship and aircraft participated in the drill, focusing on air control operations, in-flight refueling, air support for naval units and other training subjects. Taiwan's foreign minister said that China aims to control the East and South China Sea via the Taiwan Strait.
China may try to routinize its actions in an attempt to wreck the long-term status quo across the Taiwan Strait.
Taiwan on its part is getting battle-ready, holding live-fire artillery drills. The training is being used to test combat readiness in response to Chinese aggression post Nancy Pelosi's visit.
Amid tensions between Taipei and Beijing, there are fears that Xi Jinping may be going the Vladimir Putin way. Russia's Z symbol was seen on Chinese military cars. These military vehicles were spotted in the Fujian province. In fact, the Chinese military activity has increased in Fujian, which is the southernmost province closest to the Taiwan Straits, as it were. The Russian military operations in Ukraine were symbolized by the Z symbol. In fact, Russian armored vehicles in Ukraine were all painted with the symbol Z. At least 8 people were killed and 6 others missing in South Korea as heavy rainfall inundated the greater Seoul area. The downpour submerged roads, flooded metro stations. It caused blackouts across the city. Some areas received the highest rainfall they've seen in 80 years. Former U.S. President Donald Trump claims that his Florida home in Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI. Trump said a large group of FBI agents were at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach and had broken open a safe. The search was reportedly linked to an investigation into his handling of classified material while he was in office. 23-time Grand Slam winner Serena Williams has announced that she's planning to retire from tennis after the upcoming US Open. In an article in Vogue magazine, the 40-year-old has said that though she will try to win the US Open, it's time for her to move in a different direction. She said that she will evolve away from tennis and focus on other things that are important to her. Superstar Shah Rukh Khan lost his cool when a fan tried to forcefully stop him for a picture at the Mumbai airport. The actor was accompanied by his sons Aryan and Abram while walking out of the airport. Suddenly, a fan tried to hold SRK's hand and take a selfie. A visibly angry SRK shook off his hand. Aryan was then seen calming his father down. The streets of Punjab's Firozpur witnessed a dramatic car chase straight out of Fast and Furious.
Two men in a white sedan refused to stop at a police barricade despite being flagged to, so the police decided to follow them in an SUV. The car first brushed a scooter on the side, causing the woman riding it to fall off. At a busy junction, the sedan got stuck behind another car. That's when a cop with a gun in his hand jumped out of the police car behind. The cop pointed the gun at the two men inside the car, but even then the driver barged his way through the car in front. The cop was determined to stop the two men, fired at their tires, puncturing them. But the car still kept going as he chased the vehicle on foot. The two men were finally arrested after driving another 10 kilometers. 10 grams of heroin was recovered from them.
A pedestrian was mowed down in Kolkata by a teen driver in a Jaguar. The accused, who had got his license just last year, was driving his father's Jaguar at breakneck speed. He rammed into a 40-year-old woman who was walking beside the footpath, killing her instantly. The driver has been arrested. Smart cars are slowly but surely finding their wheels in India, but why are they such a big deal? They have apps which offer detailed maps, notifications. They have the ability to communicate with other cars that are on the road at the same time. It has safety features like geofencing, emergency SOS buttons, a comprehensive infotainment system which connects the cars in the vicinity. It also has voice-based assistance to try and improve the driving experience. Self-proclaimed BJP member Shrikant Tyagi was nabbed after 100 hours after a now viral video of him abusing and assaulting a woman in Noida.
After sending the police on a wild goose chase through Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, Rishikesh and Haridwar for 4 days, Shrikant Tyagi was finally arrested from the Shraddhapuri area of Meerut-Dehradun bypass and dragged in by the cops when the Noida police addressed media. As many as 12 police teams were constituted to nab him.
मेन एक्यूज बहुत चालाकी से अपने आप को छुपा रहा था. इसको मेरठ के पास से हमारी टीम्स ने अपने सहयोगियों के साथ गिरफ्तार कर लिया.
Tyagi was booked for molestation after abusing a woman at a Noida housing complex in a now viral video.
श्रीकांत कुछ कहना है? जी बताइए. जी.
5 cars were recovered from Tyagi. All vehicles had number plate of special series.
40 days after
Namaste, you're on The Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting with the mega CNN News 18 exclusive. CNN News 18 and your channel has been at the forefront of leading this fight against this conversion mafia and the conversion racket. We started with Jalandhar, we went on to Tirunelveli. Then, now we've got instances that have come to the fore from Palghar in Maharashtra and Dhanbad in Jharkhand. Shocking details that have come to the light with demands on ground growing that there needs to be a pan-India solution to this problem and an anti-conversion law needs to be firmly in place. There needs to be more states that will follow and the centre has also needs to draft an act. That's the call that's coming from ground when increasingly this menace is surfacing at various parts of our country. Let's start with the first instance that is coming in, rackets that have coming in, this breaking news that's just coming through. After Jalandhar, Tirunelveli, now it's Palghar and Dhanbad. The rackets in Jharkhand and Maharashtra, the details that are coming through. Christian missionaries are under the scanner of the state police. In both cases, the cops have initiated probe into inducement in the Katras area. These are the details that are coming through from the Katras area in Dhanbad district of Jharkhand. Families allegedly induced to convert for monetary benefits. There is a connection of these people coming in somewhere from the state of Tamil Nadu who are actually housed there and going from house to house and trying to allure and via inducements getting people to convert. And their target is the Vanvasi. The Vanvasis are the ones, the tribals are under the radar both in Jharkhand and in Maharashtra. The locals have protested demanding action against the missionaries. The families were allegedly assured money for medical treatments. This is what happened in Khatras region in Dhanbad district of Jharkhand. Now let's try and tell you what happened in the Dahanu area of the Palghar district. Complaint against induced conversions in Dahanu. Cops have arrested 4 Christian missionaries. Reports of induced conversions. Racket allegedly in Talasari, Jawahar and Vikramgarh region. Hindu groups have demanded an anti-conversion law in the state. We'll try and check if we have... Herman is now joining us live from Palghar. He's gone to that entire region in Dahanu area, in Palghar district in Dahanu. Herman, what's the allegation the locals are making? Have there been arrests also that have been made now?
Well, Anand, yes, I'm right now in Palghar district, which has a lot of, many tribal hamlets. And on Friday, it was somewhere in the afternoon when 4 Christian missionaries entered the home of an elderly tribal woman and they tried to convert her. That is when she raised an alarm and she gathered some of the villagers and a phone call was made to the nearest police station, which is the Dahanu police station. When the cops arrived there, they found that there were 4 missionaries who were there inside. And they had allegedly asked the woman to move to convert her faith to Christianity, and the excuse that was given to her was that in case if she had any sort of ailments, all of them would be cured. But when the cops arrived there, when there were several other neighbors arrived there, what they also found was that they were carrying along a lot of cash with them. Now the allegation is that she was forcefully either being converted by giving the excuse, stating that in case if she was converted, then she would be free of health problems, and there was also the inducement of cash being offered as a prize. Now, Anand, in this entire region, this sort of racket, there have been a number of such cases coming forward, but formally these 4 are under arrest right now. Many Hindu groups have been asking for the anti-conversion law to be put into act, but here that we've been seeing, I've been moving across from one village to another, and there's no great connectivity. If one looks at them, they're clearly very far away from the mainstream, and that is the advantage being taken by such groups, which is what we've been seeing in this case. But as far as arrests, yes, 4 of the missionaries have been arrested. But what we're also picking up is that in several of these tribal hamlets, you have them visiting time and often. But probably this is one of the rare instances where you have an arrest taking place, because either way, in other instances, we have seen them getting away with this sort of a racket, Anand.
Yes, the fact is that it's the Vanvasis, the tribals who are being targeted, specifically targeted. Inducements are being given. Ladies and gentlemen, today 2 opposite sides of the country. Jharkhand here in the east, Maharashtra in the west. It is Dahanu there in Maharashtra, and this is Dhanbad. Dahanu in Maharashtra and Dhanbad in Jharkhand. Both places, the modus operandi remains the same. Inducements are being given. It is the Vanvasis who are being lured. They are being lured with money and with the fact that there are these Changai Sabhas which are being conducted, where these fake kind of miracles are being also enacted by people, and they are having a free run, these Changai Sabhas. Sanjay Gupta also joining us. Sanjay, what happened in the Khatras region in Dhanbad?
यहाँ जो धनबाद जिला है, इसके अंतर्गत कतरास थाना आती है और यहाँ एक मालकेरा करके जगह है, 5 नंबर छाताबाद। यहाँ पर ईसाई धर्म के जो लोग हैं वो आ रहे हैं और प्रार्थना सभा कर रहे हैं, और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हिंदू परिवार के दर्जनों लोगों को उस प्रार्थना सभा में शामिल करवा रहे हैं। और इसके बाद जो है स्थानीय जो लोगों है उसमें हंगामा हुआ और थाना में बात गई। लेकिन जब थाना की बात आ रही है तो थाना अब तक आवेदन मिलने के बाद भी कोई कार्रवाई नहीं कर रही है। केवल इस थाना के जो एसपी हैं, जिले के जो एसपी हैं, वो कह रहे हैं कि एक आवेदन आया है और उसके बाद ही वो कार्रवाई करेंगे, जांच करेंगे। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात है कि अभी तक जो पुलिस की जांच है वो एक तरफा हो रही है। जो हिंदू परिवार इस मामले को बताए थे, उन हिंदू परिवारों को अब जो है पुलिस के द्वारा तंग किया जा रहा है, उन्हीं लोगों को टारगेट किया जा रहा है जबकि जो पादरी 80 किलोमीटर दूर से इस कतरास थाना क्षेत्र में आए थे, उनको अब तक किसी तरह की ना तो पूछताछ की गई है, ना ही अन्य किसी बारे में कहा गया है। तो इसे लेकर यहाँ के स्थानीय विधायक भी जो है तो बार बार कह रहे हैं कि यहाँ के जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट है वो भी जो है सो इस्लामीकरण और ईसाईकरण और कसाई की तरफ जा रहे हैं। यहाँ पर गौ हत्या हो या धर्म परिवर्तन, ये सब सारी चीजें चल रही है, लेकिन जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट है इसे लेकर कोई गंभीरता नहीं दिखा रहे हैं।
संजय, आप कह रहे हैं कि जिन्होंने कंप्लेंट किया अब उनसे सवाल किए जा रहे हैं, जिन्होंने कहा कि उनके साथ जबरन धर्म परिवर्तन की कोशिश की जा रही है, उन हिंदू परिवारों को ही अब सवाल पूछा जा रहा है। तो ये लोग कहां से आए हैं? ये जो ईसाईकरण कर रहे हैं वहां कतरास में, ये कहां से आए हैं? ये वहीं झारखंड के हैं या किसी दूसरे राज्य से वहां पर आए हैं?
ये धनबाद और बंगाल के बॉर्डर जगह पे चिरकुंडा करके जगह, और वहाँ के एक पादरी जो है 80 किलोमीटर दूर आ रहे हैं और यहाँ पर प्रार्थना सभा कर रहे हैं। सबसे बड़ी बात है कि इन लोगों का टारगेट जो है वो SC ST और गरीब तबके के लोग हैं, जिनको कहीं ना कहीं खाने पीने की दिक्कत होती है। और यही कारण है कि उनको सबसे बड़ी बात है कि जब हमने 2-3 लोगों से बात की तो उन्होंने साफ तौर पर कहा कि 15 लाख रुपए को उन्हें प्रलोभन दिया गया है। यहाँ तक कि एक परिवार को ये भी कहा गया कि उनकी मदर का किडनी खराब है तो उसे भी जो है वो चेन्नई अस्पताल में इलाज करवाएंगे। ऐसे प्रलोभन के साथ में प्रार्थना सभा में शामिल करवाया जा रहा है और इसके बाद धर्म परिवर्तन का एक खेल चल रहा है। लेकिन जो स्थानीय प्रशासन है उसके तरफ से अब तक उन ईसाई मिशनरियों पर कार्रवाई को लेकर कोई पहल नहीं की गई है। वहां के 2-3 युवकों को ही उल्टा हिरासत में प्रशासन के द्वारा लिया गया, उनसे ही सवाल जवाब किया जा रहा है। उनको ये भी कहा जा रहा है कि आप धर्म के ठेकेदार बने, आप धर्म के रक्षक बने। तो ये सब चीजें जब हो रही है तो इससे लेकर स्थानीय जनप्रतिनिधि जो यहाँ के ढुल्लू महतो हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि इन सभी आवाजों को जब हमने विधानसभा में उठाया था तो उन्हें सस्पेंड किया गया था। और यहाँ के साथ साथ धनबाद के भी जो विधायक हैं राज सिन्हा, उन्होंने भी कहा कि यहाँ पर नमाज रूम बनाया जाता है, विधानसभा में इस्लामीकरण हो रहा है, स्कूलों में संडे के जगह में फ्राइडे को छुट्टी दी जा रही है। तो कहीं ना कहीं ये सरकार के सह पर ही प्रशासन काम कर रही है और जो हिंदू परिवार है, हिंदू लोग हैं, उनके धर्म को लेकर अब संकट आ रहा है। तो इसकी आवाज बीजेपी उठाएगी, लगातार उठा रही है। और चाहे
राजनीति अपनी तरफ, लेकिन यहाँ पर सोशली ग्राउंड पर जो चल रहा है वो क्या सही मायने में जायज है या नाजायज है? ये कन्वर्जन माफिया काम कर रही है कि नहीं? पुलिस आप कह रहे हैं जिन परिवारों ने कंप्लेंट किया उन्हीं के खिलाफ अब एक्शन लेने में लगी हुई है, ये आप कह रहे हैं। वी आर ऑल्सो गेटिंग लॉट ऑफ इनपुट्स फ्रॉम दहानू. We will keep putting out those inputs as and to when it is coming. This story just coming to light, and we've sent our team on ground to investigate, and we are getting you all the reactions one by one. For the moment, we'll continue to focus on Dhanbad, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Nation at 5, again where a conversion racket is being alleged. These are the voices that we have got for you. There is Dhullu Mahato, who's the MLA of that area. There is Raj Sinha, who's the MLA of Dhanbad, and we also have the SP rural of in that region, that is Rishma Rameshan. Let's listen into all of them.
जब से यह सरकार आई है झारखंड के अंदर, जेएमएम कांग्रेस और आरजेडी के गठबंधन वाली सरकार, तब से यह मनोबल काफ़ी बढ़ गया है। और आप लोग को ने देखा होगा कि हम लोग विधानसभा के अंदर भी गौ हत्या बंद करो, धर्मांतरण कानून कड़ाई से लागू करो, इसके अलावा नमाज कक्ष कभी बना दिया, झारखंड राज्य का इस्लामीकरण बंद करने की हम लोगों ने मांग किया। तो ये तो सरकार अपने राह पर चल रही है। ईसाई कसाई हम लोग लगातार विरोध कर रहे हैं। और ये जो है रघुवर दास जी ने धर्मांतरण कानून को ये किया था, लेकिन यह सरकार उसको पालन नहीं कर रही है। इसे मेरा सलाह माने प्रशासन के लोग या चेतावनी माने, जो भी मानना है, लेकिन यह समय दूर नहीं कि इनके ऐसे लोगों के सत्ता से ये लोग बाहर होने वाले हैं और चुन चुन कर ऐसे लोगों पर कार्रवाई किया जाएगा जो धर्मांतरण कानून को नहीं लागू कर रहे हैं।
देखिए, झारखंड मुक्ति मोर्चा कांग्रेस के सरकार बनने के बाद हिंदू खतरे की ओर बढ़ रहा है। उनकी स्थिति बहुत दयनीय होती जा रही है। आज खुलेआम गो हत्या हो रही है, आज इस्लामीकरण बढ़ रहा है, आज हिंदू धर्म के लोगों को लालच लोभ देकर मतलब धर्म परिवर्तन करवाया जा रहा है। और जो हमारे हिंदू भाई बहनों को जो धर्म परिवर्तन करवा रहा है, लालच देकर, लोभ देकर, इस पर कार्रवाई सरकार करे। अन्यथा जिस प्रकार से लोगों का मन में गुस्सा, आक्रोशित बढ़ता जा रहा है, अगर कहीं न कहीं इस तरह का कोई बात हो जाए तो इसका जवाबदेही सरकार होगा, इसका जवाबदेही प्रशासन होगा।
एक लिखित शिकायत पुलिस के पास भी मिला है। पुलिस ने संज्ञान लिया है इस बात का, तो जांच होगा। पहले जांच के, ये भी जांच के विषय है, जांच के बाद ही कुछ इसमें कार्रवाई होगा। जांच में जो मैटर सामने आएगा उसके बाद ही कुछ कार्रवाई होगा। लिखित एक शिकायत मिला है कतरास थाना में, उसी का जांच हो रहा है।
संजय, मैं जल्दी से आपसे जानना चाहता हूं कि जो मेन कंप्लेनेंट्स हैं उनसे आपकी बात हुई? अभी फिलहाल वो कौन है, वो लोग जो धर्मांतरण करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे? क्या उन पर कोई निगरानी रखी गई है कि उन्हें खुली छूट दी गई है कि वो कहीं भी आ जा सकते हैं? वो अभी भी कातरास में है कि नहीं?
घटना के 2-3 दिन बीत गए हैं, लेकिन जो आवेदन है वो बस अब थाने की जो है फाइलों के पर ही सिमट के रह गई है। अब तक उस मामले में जो पीड़ित पक्ष है, शिकायत करता है, जो उसके तरफ से उन लोगों से कोई पूछताछ नहीं किया गया। वहाँ के जो युवा है, जो सूत्र हमें बता रहे हैं, जिस दिन ये घटना हुई थी उसी दिन वहाँ के पुलिस जो है तो उन्हीं लड़कों को जो है धमकाने का प्रयास किए। तो कहीं ना कहीं एक तरफा कार्रवाई हो रही, लोगों में आक्रोश है। इसे लेकर विश्व हिंदू परिषद हो या बजरंग दल हो या स्थानीय जो युवा, जो कि अब कहीं ना कहीं एक धर्म को लेकर जागरूक हुए हैं, तो उन लोगों में गुस्सा है। और यही कारण है कि अब लोगों में उबाल है। हो सकता है कि 15 अगस्त के बाद कोई रणनीति बने इसे लेकर, लेकिन फिलहाल जो ये ईसाई मिशनरी है उन पर अब तक पुलिस के द्वारा कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई है, ना ही उन लोगों से अब तक पूछताछ करने की जरूरत पुलिस ने अब तक समझी है।
जी संजय, धन्यवाद आपके इनपुट्स के लिए। मैं जरा नाउ फ्रॉम धनबाद लेट्स गो अक्रॉस टू Dahanu and Herman is live with us. Herman, you have spoken to some of the locals, the complainants. What is it that they are alleging? We are going to play out some of the reactions that have come in and the claims that have come in. Which are the groups that stepped up? Can you take us through what exactly happened? How did this matter come to light? How did the cops intervene, and why these 4 people have been arrested, and who are these 4 who have been arrested? Where are they from? Do we have any of these details?
Well, they are believed to be, from an organization from Pune, Anand. But this happened on Friday afternoon when all of a sudden they entered a house of a tribal woman who is an elderly woman, and they tried to force her to convert to the Christianity faith. But at that point in time, she raised an alarm. So the villagers gathered. They made a few calls to a few local Hindu organizations who came there to her rescue. And when the crowds had swelled up, a call was made to the Dahanu police station. Upon which the police there reached the spot. When they tried to investigate, they found out that besides religious articles, there was also large sums of money. Now at that point, the police asked the woman as to, what was why was it that did she invite these missionaries? She said no, they decided to come there on her own. They tried to force her to convert, is what she alleges, stating that all of her health problems would go away in case if she decides to convert her faith. But the fact of the matter is that there were large amounts of cash also that was found from these 4 missionaries. Dahanu is such an area; it is cut off from the mainstream Mumbai. On the outskirts, you have one village that is at least 50 to 60 kilometers away from the next. It is these sort of stories have definitely come forward in the past too. We have heard it. Several organizations like Hindu Jan Jagriti Samiti have stepped forward, but this is probably one of the first times that one is looking that a formal arrest has taken place. Now the key question that the Hindu right-wing organizations have been asking, and rightly so, is that in case if the Catholic missionaries, they do want to help people, they can do so. They can offer them their medical help and other things, etc. But what is the extreme need of asking them to forcefully convert? What is the guarantee that was given to this woman under the false pretext saying that in case if she converted, she would not have any sort of health problems? They were asked certain sort of questions by the investigating police team too, but they did not respond, which is one of the grounds upon which they have been now formally arrested, and the investigation is on to try and find out how large is this reacted, because as I was pointing, the Palghar district has a large number of the tribals and Adivasis who live here and who have been given this sort of they have been either it is the health options, or it is some other freebies, or even money and even education that is given to them on the pretext of forcefully converting. And therefore one is looking at probably one of the rarest times where you have actually a formal arrest taking place, Anand, because in the past, yes, there have been murmurs, there have been incidents taking place, but in this context, probably a formal arrest for the first time.
Right. Thank you for your inputs, Herman. We'll keep coming back to you. We're getting more inputs that you're sending us from there, and it's being processed here back behind me in the newsroom, and we'll try and put it out. A lot of the reactions are in Marathi, so we'll try and get you some of those reactions, what the locals are claiming. The Hindu Janajagrati Sabha has actually come out and very strongly demanded an anti-conversion law in the state of Maharashtra, just like it is in place in Karnataka, in Uttar Pradesh, and some other states in the country. And many are saying there needs to be a pan-India law as far as this entire conversion racket is concerned to counter this. It's a pan-India problem, like we are showing to you. Dhanbad to Dahanu, this remains the issue. Let's go across to our guests this evening who've been looking at the story and also been waiting patiently. Thank you for your patience. Nirva Mehta, Swapnil Kothari and Rahul Ishwar. Nirva, I'm going to start with you. You guys at Op India have also tracked this, this menace that is the conversion racket and the conversion mafia. One aspect which is also coming in is this entire miracle workshops or these Changai Sabhas which happen, where these fake miracles take place and this brazen inducement also comes through. In both cases, the modus operandi is the same. Two different corners of the country and in remote areas where they are targeting Vanvasis with monetary inducements and telling them that we will work miracles, we will cure you.
Right. So it's not just the inducing, the luring them with money and other things that come with it. In fact, there was this one incident in November last year where about 100 tribals from this very small village near Bharuch, they were converted to Islam, and they were over and above offering them money and other things like job and marriage and other things. They were also told about how Hinduism is not a real religion. So they were filled with poison against Hinduism, against the Hindu gods and goddesses. One of the major, accused in the case, one Haji Abdullah, he was accused of telling them that Shiv jaise koi hota nahi hai. That how if your God is if God exists, then how come their prasad has ants after some time, and if your God is real, then why did he kill his own son, or why did he put a head of an elephant on his own son? Why didn't he bring him back to life? So these tribals, they were told about things like these, and then that's how they were asked to convert to Islam, which was told them that is the one true religion. And all of a sudden there is a prayer room there's a namaz room, ibadat khana comes up in a place where there is not one single pakka house. So, and then the conversion, the roots were traced to London. Then also the tentacles reached to the UP conversion racket, which were broke earlier in June last year. So all these things, it's a huge, it's an industry so to say. And it's a menace. And while there are a lot of arrests have been made, but is that even enough? Because as we see, the menaces, there is no end to it.
And there is huge amounts of money that is coming through. How do they have access to so much of funds which they can just dole out and induce? That's another cause for concern. We've got a reaction coming in from the sub-inspector of the Dahanu police station, Vivek Narvekar.
दिनांक 5/8/2022 रोजी दुपारी साधारण 1:15 वाजताच्या सुमारास
We'll come back to this. We'll come back to this in just a bit, ladies and gentlemen. Going across to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's speaking right now.
का अपमान न करें। साथियों, कुछ राजनीतिक दलों की स्वार्थ नीति से अलग हमारी सरकार सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास के मंत्र पर काम करती रहेगी। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि विकास के लिए सकारात्मक विश्वास की ऊर्जा इसी तरह पैदा होती रहेगी। एक बार फिर हरियाणा के कोटि-कोटि साथियों को, किसान और पशुपालक बहन भाइयों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। कल रक्षाबंधन का पवित्र त्योहार भी है। भाई बहन के स्नेह के प्रतीक इस पर्व पर हर भाई अपना कर्तव्य निभाने का संकल्प दोहराता है। कल एक नागरिक के तौर पर भी हमें देश के प्रति अपने कर्तव्य निभाने का संकल्प दोहराना है। इसी कामना के साथ मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Well, big development this one, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while inaugurating the ethanol plant, the 2G ethanol plant, and dedicating it to the public in Panipat, he has now come out and taken on those who are practicing the politics of freebies and selfish politics. He has said that people who have a tendency to avoid problems by adopting shortcuts for political selfishness, they cannot solve problems permanently. Those adopting shortcuts may get accolades for some time, political gains may come, but the problem does not subside. So he is very clearly going against this Revdi Rivaj. A day after Arvind Kejriwal took him on and tried to justify freebies, and today said that even Yogi Adityanath has countered the Prime Minister. That's a jibe coming in from Arvind Kejriwal. PM Narendra Modi saying that this is selfish politics. If there is selfishness in politics, then anyone can come and announce to give free petrol and diesel. Such steps take away their rights from our children, prevent the country from becoming self-reliant. Such selfish policies will only increase the burden of the honest taxpayer of the country, because net what you're doing as a state or as a leader is taking from one pocket and putting it in the other. So while taking from the other, so that's the whole aspect of Revdiya Patna, which Prime Minister had very clearly said that this is a policy that we should not have. Pallavi Ghosh with us on the phone line. Pallavi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi very clearly, unequivocally taking on those who are practicing this freebie politics or freebie culture.
Yes, and Anand, despite the fact that I think it was yesterday or day before, where Arvind Kejriwal defended himself by saying that if you give free electricity or free health infrastructure, that should not be seen as a freebie or as a kind of an inducement to get votes. So in this war of words over Revdi and freebies lies that age-old debate, is that what makes good politics, does that make good economics? And why is it that there should not actually be proper on-ground economic and social development where no political parties can actually use this freebie culture to try and score political brownie points? And if you look in the midst of all this, Anand, very quickly, you have Arvind Kejriwal going back to Gujarat and also making a series of announcements. So it's a very interesting, strong take coming in from the Prime Minister, also making the point that his party has never believed in giving freebies. His party believes in having an on-ground, solid social as well as economic development.
True, we'll play out those sound bites in just a bit, Pallavi. Let's listen into the part where he's taking on this politics of selfishness, this Revdi culture.
राजनीतिक स्वार्थ के लिए शॉर्टकट अपनाकर समस्याओं को टाल देने की प्रवृत्ति होती है, वो कभी समस्याओं का स्थायी समाधान नहीं कर सकते। शॉर्टकट अपनाने वालों को कुछ समय के लिए वाहवाही भले मिल जाए, राजनीतिक फायदा भले हो जाए, लेकिन समस्या कम नहीं होती। इसलिए ही मैं कहता हूं कि शॉर्टकट अपनाने से शॉर्ट सर्किट अवश्य होता है।
I have Mr. Amit Malviya with us on the phone line. Amitji, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi very clearly coming out and challenging those who are practicing this politics of freebies. Freebie culture, Revdiya Patna, he said this is selfishness. It can give you short-term gains, but it does not solve the problem. But on the other hand, you have the likes of Arvind Kejriwal openly backing freebie culture, saying if I give free bijli to the socially backward or economically backward, what's wrong? Why shouldn't we give those people free food, free bijli and free medicines?
Anand, we have to understand that there is a difference between Revdi culture and welfare state. There's a difference between freebies and there's a difference between providing state support to people who need it. People like Arvind Kejriwal offer free services to everybody irrespective of their social, financial or economic status. that puts huge amount of pressure on the institutions and on the revenue structure of any state. Whether you look at the electricity department of Delhi, it is reeling under huge debt and overdues. You look at water, which Arvind Kejriwal claims to be giving free. There is a CAG report which says that 88% of the unauthorized colonies do not have piped water. There is no sewage facility. So forget free water. People don't have water in this city, and Arvind Kejriwal claims to be offering it free. Similarly, every institution, every public sector unit, whether it is a Jal board, whether it is electricity department, other units are all running in huge losses because of this reverie culture. Eventually, these organizations will collapse. People will lose their jobs. So Arvind Kejriwal may win an election or two, but he will ruin Delhi. In the last 8 years that he's been the chief minister, Delhi has seen no new construction, no new flyovers, no new infrastructure development, no new buses. Every day you go on the street and a DTC bus has been broken down and people are standing. So what good is the promise of a freebie culture if it is not delivered? If governance is compromised and the basic right to life is compromised, people are dying because they are drinking unhealthy, contaminated water. You would rather give them clean water to drink instead of offering free and not being able to offer anything at all. The Prime Minister is making this point repeatedly. It is not about giving things free. It is about ensuring that you give people certain respect and dignity, and you give state support to people who deserve it, who need it, not fund consumption.
Right. No, the other aspect is he's also taken a huge jibe at Kala Jadoo. He said कि हमारे देश में कुछ लोग हैं जो नकारात्मकता के भंवर में फंसे हुए हैं, निराशा में डूबे हुए हैं, सरकार के खिलाफ झूठ पे झूठ बोलने के बाद भी जनता जनार्दन ऐसे लोगों पर भरोसा करने को तैयार नहीं है। ऐसी हताशा में ये लोग अब काले जादू की तरफ मुड़ते नजर आ रहे हैं। अभी हमने 5 अगस्त को देखा कि कैसे काले जादू को फैलाने का प्रयास किया गया। ये लोग सोचते हैं कि काले कपड़े पहनकर उनकी निराशा हताशा का काल समाप्त हो जाएगा, लेकिन उन्हें पता नहीं है कि कितनी ही झाड़ फूंक कर लें, कितना ही काला जादू कर लें, अंधविश्वास कर लें, जनता का विश्वास अब उन पर दोबारा कभी नहीं बन पाएगा। दिस इज अ स्ट्रेट डायरेक्ट अटैक ऑन द ब्लैक फ्राइडे प्रोटेस्ट बाय द कांग्रेस पार्टी. Amit Malviya.
Well, Anand, the fact is that the Congress party indulged in this theatrics, a fashion show of sorts on the day which was actually meant to commemorate the Shilanyas of Ram Janmabhoomi. But having said that, the opposition today lacks substantive criticism of this government. It is one thing to protest. It is another to make sense of that protest. The opposition remains rudderless. It remains directionless because it has nothing substantive to criticize this government on. They speak about economy, they speak about employment, they speak about inflation. Despite the 2 years of pandemic, despite the global war, despite the wrecked supply chain across the world, the country has done well to manage some of our economic parameters and indicators. There is a lot of economic activity. India is today one of the best performing large emerging market countries in the world. Now people see this. They feel the vibration of active, chugging along economy in their lives. So when opposition goes out and makes these unsubstantiated claims, people don't take it seriously. And that is why, despite all the Black Friday protests that the Congress and the opposition may want to indulge in, the truth is that people look at them as those performing for the cameras and don't take them seriously beyond that. For any government, it is the intent that is important, and nobody can fault Prime Minister Modi and his government's intent to build India over the next 25 years so that we have what he calls as Amrit Kal, India's moment under the sun where it regains its lost glory. And that is what the PM's vision is. And you compare it to the opposition, they completely doff out.
Well, I have Mr. Nasir Hussain of the Congress party also. Mr. Nasir Hussain, Prime Minister saying 5th August, we saw the Kala Jadoo, Jhad Phunk, no matter how much they try this, it's not going to work. Direct jibe at the Congress's Black Friday protest.
The most unfortunate thing for the country is when the whole country is reeling under the pressure of inflation, high prices, petrol, diesel, gas ke daam, GST on atta, chini, doodh, dahi, good and all those items. And when the debate was forced on the parliament after 2.5 weeks of agitation and protest by the opposition parties, the Prime Minister of the country failed to be present in any of the debates in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. He neither participated in the debate and discussion, neither he discussed issues there, neither he gave any relief to the people of the country. It was the finance minister who was led to do the talking and try and convince the people. She neither accepted that there is any kind of inflation, neither she accepted there is GST levied, neither accepted that there is unemployment or poverty in the country. The entire government was in a denial mode. And then the Prime Minister tries to speak to the parliamentarians from public platforms, not from the parliament. This is the most unfortunate part of Indian parliamentary democracy, especially during the times of Modi era. This is how he tries to address the parliament. That shows his scant respect to the parliament. And these kind of jadoo tona, black magic, apshakan, shakan, that he becoming the Prime Minister will bring good vastu to the country. All these things can only spoken by a person from the BJP itself, because no other parties get to this level.
Well, Mr. Nasir Hussain, let me get Amit Malviya to react to your response to the Prime Minister. Well, we lost Amit Malviya, but Nasir Hussain ji, this is what he said, and I want your reaction on this. He said, अभी हमने 5 अगस्त को देखा कि कैसे काले जादू को फैलाने का प्रयास किया गया. ये लोग सोचते हैं कि काले कपड़े पहनकर उनकी निराशा हताशा का काल समाप्त हो जाएगा, लेकिन उन्हें पता नहीं कि वो कितनी ही झाड़ फूंक कर लें, कितना ही काला जादू कर लें, अंधविश्वास कर लें, जनता का विश्वास अब उन पर दोबारा कभी नहीं बन पाएगा.
अंधविश्वास की सरकार, दिया जलाने की, थाली पीटने की सरकार, बाहर निकल के चिल्लाने की सरकार, गो करुणा गो चिल्लाने की सरकार तो भाजपा की सरकार है. अगर कोई जादू टोना में अगर बिलीव करता है तो वो भाजपा और भाजपा के नेता में बिलीव करते हैं. आज भी जो है वो देश के गरीब जनता को वो जितने भी विपक्ष के द्वारा उठाए गए मुद्दे और सवालों का जवाब आज भी वो दे नहीं रहे. जवाब से वो दूर भाग रहे हैं, पार्लियामेंट से दूर भाग रहे हैं. पार्लियामेंट में ना तो आके जवाब दिए, ना पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म से जवाब दे रहे हैं. इस तरीके के आलतू फालतू बातों से जो लोगों का, खासकर गरीबों का पेट नहीं भरने वाला है, गरीबों को रोजगार नहीं मिलने वाली है. जिस तरह से महंगाई चरम सीमा पे है, उसके बारे में डिस्कस करने के लिए तो वो आते नहीं. इस तरीके के बात, इस तरीके के अपोजिशन पार्टियों के खिलाफ सरकास्टिक बात करने के लिए वो चले आते हैं. देश देख रहा है, देश के लोग देख रहे हैं, आवाम देख रही है कि क्या हो रहा है. और जगह जगह इनको जो शिकस्त मिला, बिहार से शुरू हुआ और हर स्टेट में यही इनको मिलने वाला है.
Nasir ji, please stay with me. Shehzad Poonawala has been hearing you. This is the Congress's response to the Prime Minister, who's called out the Kala Jadoo kind of politics that the Congress attempted with the Black Friday protest. Shehzad Poonawala. Mr. Nasir Hussain saying it is the BJP which believes in Andhvishwas and Kala Jadoo.
देखिए, नासिर हुसैन की हताशा तो हम जानते ही हैं. जब से 5 अगस्त को श्री राम जन्मभूमि का भूमि पूजन हुआ है, 500 वर्षों की एक यात्रा समाप्त हुई है. कांग्रेस ने जिस प्रकार से इसमें रोड़े अटकाने की, श्री राम के अस्तित्व पर सवाल उठाने की, राम जी को तुम कौन से कमरे में पैदा होने की जुर्रत करने वाले मणिशंकर अय्यर जैसे लोगों ने इसमें बहुत रोड़ा अटकाने की कोशिश की. और इसीलिए जब से ये भूमि पूजन हुआ है, जब से ही फैसला आया है, तब से रोम भक्ति में लीन कुछ लोग, रोम भक्ति मतलब कोई जगह का नाम नहीं है, ये एक विचारधारा, तुष्टीकरण की रोम भक्ति में लीन नासिर हुसैन और इनकी जो पूरी की पूरी मंडली है, वो मातम मना रही है. पहले भी मातम मनाया, इनके कुछ लोग कोर्ट में भी गए, उसके बाद और भी मातम मनाया, पिछले साल भी मातम मनाया, इस साल भी मातम मनाया, क्योंकि मूलतः हिंदू आनंद जी, इन्होंने हिंदुत्व को लेकर इस प्रकार की बातें महंगाई की रैली में की थी. हिंदुत्व को आईसिस बोको हराम कहा था. ये वही मंडली है जिसने हिंदुत्व कहा था.
Well, Shehzad, I'm losing the audio with you, but Nasir Hussain, would you want to respond to the BJP? The BJP is saying that this is your politics of Hatasha and Nirasha.
See, again, I will say, neither Shehzad Poonawala, nor Amit Malviya, nor any of the spokespersons of Bharatiya Janata Party, neither Narendra Modi ji, nor any of the MPs, including the finance minister, have answered any questions on inflation, price rise, GST, unemployment, and poverty. We are sticking to our basic questions. They are trying to give a spin, trying to bring religion here, trying to bring temples here, trying to bring some auspicious days here. They can give any spin, whatever they want. They want to divide this country on the basis of polarization, on the basis of communal lines. Whatever they want, they will do. We will stick to the basic issues that we have raised. GST on doodh, dahi, atta, chini, good, and all these items. Petrol, diesel, gas ke daam, Agnipat, unemployment, and all these issues.
Arguments and counter-arguments, Nasir Saab. There are arguments and counter-arguments to that. Thank you for speaking with us. We'll try and see if we have the BJP still with us on the phone line. But right now, I have Mr. Somnath Bharti of the Aam Aadmi Party with us on the phone line. Somnath ji, namaste. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ne revdi culture, freebie culture ke baare mein, he has made a very strong comment saying this is politics of selfishness. It can give you short-term gains, but it does not solve the problem. It only leads to long-term issues.
See, I fail to understand why Mr. Modi is so hell-bent on, against the free schemes which the government does for the people who can't afford otherwise. In fact, today itself I was saying that Honorable Chief Minister of UP, Mr. Yogi Adityanath ji, has announced that he's going to be doing a free bus service for the senior citizen and the ladies. I don't understand. Are they not in term with each other? Are they not talking to each other? Because Mr. Modi, what he says, Mr. Yogi opposes, all that. So let them be first on the same page, number one. Number two, one second.
Okay, please complete, yeah. The BJP tried to draw a difference between welfare and freebies. It's two different aspects altogether, so that's what they try to draw the line. Shehzad is there, so he'll respond. Yeah, please complete first.
10 lakhs crores of rupees. These in the name of incentives have been given to people like Vijay Mallya and all that. What are they? What is that? Is that not freebie? That is killing the Indian economy. In fact, in Hindi we call it जो जिसका खाता है वो उसका गाता है. आम आदमी पार्टी की शख्सियत बनी आम आदमियों से, तो हम उनकी सेवा करते हैं. उनकी शख्सियत बनी है खास आदमियों से जो कि टैक्स की इवेजन करते हैं, जो जनता का पैसा खा लिया, 10 लाख करोड़ खा लिया, उनकी सेवा करते हैं.
जो जिसका खाता है वो उसका गाता है, आपने कहा. सोमनाथ जी शहजाद से पूछते हैं, शहजाद पूनावाला जी पूछते हैं. शहजाद बताइए.
Anand ji, first of all, I ask you on your channel, in the next 1 hour, call Somnath ji and me both to your channel, and the claim Somnath has made that 10 lakh crores has been waived off. If he can't prove it, he should quit, or else I will show him how 8 lakh crores has actually been recovered from the bad loans, and to call loans which have been written off.
Mr. Poonawala, you have already...
Anand, can I complete? Anand, now you
please complete and then Somnath ji respond. Yeah, aap do hi hain.
I hope one at a time we can speak. Anand, I hope
go ahead.
Party Neta can allow courtesy. So to call written off loans as loans that have been waived off, it shows that how much knowledge of finance and CA and IRS they have. But having said that, Anand, I just want to throw one question at Mr. Somnath. They say free Shiksha. Do you know in the last 8 years, instead of opening 500 schools which they promised, they have shut down 31 schools. If not, Somnath can name 5 new schools they've opened and 3 new hospitals. They said they will open up hospitals, forgetting opening up hospitals. There has been no new hospitals. Please name 5 new schools and new hospitals you have opened up where this free Shiksha and free Swasthya is being given. In fact, in Punjab's PGI, the free health which was being given, free health services, that has been stopped because they could not pay 16 crores to the hospital for their outstanding. This government of Delhi, which says that we will give jobs, 10 lakh jobs ke badle they get 3246 jobs as per the RTI report. This government which says that we will give free water has not even given free water proper connections to most of the households, because of which they have to still go with tankers.
Let him respond.
Yes.
So जो वादा किया वो ना निभाया है, but इसमें स्टेट को कर्जे में डुबाया है. So net that's the counter, Somnath ji. And your allegation of 10 lakh crores written off and waived off में फर्क है.
You are also helping Sajad ji to sort of form up his opinion. See, the problem is that today, rather than learning from good governance model of Arvind Kejriwal, the way he has put the state's resources to empower the common man, there is all attempt from BJP side only to keep countering and bringing negativity and saying lies after lies. I don't understand what's going on. Across, Sajad ji, one second.
I want the names of the 5 new schools you started.
I gave you. You asked me. I gave you time.
Where are the 5 new schools?
आप दोनों फोन पे हैं. अगर आप एक दूसरे के ऊपर बोलेंगे ये सिर्फ शोर आएगा, कोई नहीं सुनाई देगा. तो सोमनाथ जी आप अपनी बात पूरी करें. Then Shehzad, please counter. I'll take a break only after that. Okay. Yes, Somnath.
What I'm saying, Sajad ji, what I'm saying, see, world over, not only in India, across the world, many presidents, many prime ministers, including the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan ji, they came to the country. President of the United States, wife of his, she opted to see the education system of Arvind Kejriwal. Everybody is saying, why you are denying? Education system which has been improved drastically in an unimaginable manner. The poor people, they are shifting their children from private schools to Delhi government schools. Middle class are also shifting their children from private schools to Delhi government schools. 2 lakh children. 3 months ago, I had the report. 2 lakh children shifted from private school in Delhi to Delhi government schools. That is the proof. What more proof do you need? Today in Delhi, sir.
What more proof?
Today in Delhi, sir, in the name of health. In the name of... One second, let me complete the health also. In Delhi hospitals...
30 seconds and then Shehzad, please.
Yes. In Delhi hospitals, this tertiary level of health infrastructure which we have built, Mohalla Clinic, Polyclinic and hospitals, not a single penny any Delhiite has to spend on their health needs. It is all done, it is all taken care of. Today, around 15,000-20,000 rupees per month, every household in Delhi, is getting back from their own taxes. This is all best utilization of taxes, basically.
Right. So you're saying that your welfare actually works. Now, welfare and freebies, there is a line that needs to be drawn between the two, is something which I think everybody has to appreciate. But Shehzad, quick counter. You wanted to challenge the facts presented by Somnath Bharti.
Yeah. Anand, I asked Mr. Bharti to name 5 new schools they started or 3 new hospitals. He went on to Kofi Annan and Donald Trump's wife. But having said that, let me tell you what they've done in schools. 700 schools, Anand, in Delhi. No, please, Anand, this is not an ad slot. Anand, this is not an ad slot. Please remind Mr. Bharti. Please remind Mr. Bharti, this is not an ad slot. Please let me complete. Anand, in 700 schools, 11th and 12th, no science, no commerce is being taught. 745 schools have no principal. 418 schools have no vice principal. The 9th standard, the dropout rate is 40%, so that they are not sent to the 10th standard, because in case they go and fail there, their record will become bad. EWS students, 40,000 seats have still not been filled. Delhi High Court has chastised the Kejriwal government for it. In the schoolroom construction, they have done loot of 5 lakh rupee rooms being constructed for 28 lakh rupees. This is their Delhi ka Shiksha model. Mr. Somnath Bharti can't name 5 new schools he has built in the last 8 years.
The point is building schools. My point, gentlemen, is we've digressed from the issue. The issue is of free bijli, free pani, free everything. Building schools for education is part of the welfare aspect. When you try and give everybody everything free, that's when it becomes a freebie culture and you make it a poll promise to get votes. So there is a difference between Revdi and there is difference between what you have to do as part of Jan Kalyan. This is something which I think both of you would understand. We'll take this debate forward, but for the moment, I'm compelled to take a short break. So Shehzad Poonawalla and Somnath Bharti, thank you very, very much for your patience and also for putting forth your views in a manner which all of us could comprehend. The debate rages because of the Prime Minister's statement. Not just a jibe at the Revdi culture pressure, but more importantly, the Jadu Tona Kala Jadu jibe at the Congress party over their Black Friday protest. Listen in to what he had to say as we take a short break.
हमारे देश में भी कुछ लोग हैं जो नकारात्मकता के भंवर में फंसे हुए हैं, निराशा में डूबे हुए हैं। सरकार के खिलाफ झूठ पर झूठ बोलने के बाद भी जनता जनार्दन ऐसे लोगों पर भरोसा करने को तैयार नहीं है। ऐसी हताशा में ये लोग भी अब काले जादू की तरफ मुड़ते नजर आ रहे हैं।
The cop pointed the gun at the two men inside the car, but even then the driver barged his way through the car in front. The cop was determined to stop the two men, fired at their tires, puncturing them. But the car still kept going as he chased the vehicle on foot. The two men were finally arrested after driving another 10 kilometers. 10 grams of heroin was recovered from them.
A pedestrian was mowed down in Kolkata by a teen driver in a Jaguar. The accused, who had got his license just last year, was driving his father's Jaguar at breakneck speed. He rammed into a 40-year-old woman who was walking beside the footpath, killing her instantly. The driver has been arrested. Smart cars are slowly but surely finding their wheels in India, but why are they such a big deal? They have apps which offer detailed maps, notifications. They have the ability to communicate with other cars that are on the road at the same time. It has safety features like geofencing, emergency SOS buttons, a comprehensive infotainment system which connects the cars in the vicinity. It also has voice-based assistance to try and improve the driving experience. Self-proclaimed BJP member Shrikant Tyagi was nabbed after 100 hours after a now viral video of him abusing and assaulting a woman in Noida.
After sending the police on a wild goose chase through Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, Rishikesh and Haridwar for 4 days, Shrikant Tyagi was finally arrested from the Shraddhapuri area of Meerut-Dehradun bypass and dragged in by the cops when the Noida police addressed media. As many as 12 police teams were constituted to nab him.
मेन एक्यूज बहुत चालाकी से अपने आप को छुपा रहा था। इसको मेरठ के पास से हमारी टीम्स ने अपने सहयोगियों के साथ गिरफ्तार कर लिया।
Tyagi was booked for molestation after abusing a woman at a Noida housing complex in a now viral video.
श्रीकांत कुछ कहना है? हाँ, अफसोस है। जी बताइए। रिसीव हो गए थे? जी। जी।
5 cars were recovered from Tyagi. All vehicles had number plate of special series.
40 days after Eknath Shinde was sworn in as Maharashtra Chief Minister, the cabinet has finally been expanded. 18 ministers took oath today. Among them were BJP State President Chandrakant Patil, Radhakrishna Vikhe Patil and Uday Samant. Shinde said that a second round of cabinet expansion is likely to be held in September. Kerala Governor Arif Mohammad Khan is planning to initiate action against the Vice-Chancellor of the Kannur University after the wife of the Chief Minister's private secretary was appointed as an associate professor in the university. Arif Mohammad Khan has sought an explanation from the Vice-Chancellor after a complaint stated that the UGC rules were flouted during this appointment. Amid rising threats from China along the line of actual control, India is stepping up vigil. Hindustan Aeronautics is working on an AI-driven multi-role drone. Now, these drones will be able to carry up to 40 kilograms of payload. It's used for transporting essential supplies. The maiden test flight will happen by the middle of next year. HAL will produce 60 such drone platforms in phase 1 of this program. Tensions between China and Taiwan are showing no signs whatsoever of diffusing.
China's Air Force and Navy continue military exercises close to Taiwan. China has sent military ships and planes across the midline that separates the two sides in the Taiwan Strait and launched missiles into water surrounding the island. Multiple types of warship and aircraft participated in the drill, focusing on air control operations, in-flight refueling, air support for naval units and other training subjects. Taiwan's foreign minister said that China aims to control the East and South China Sea via the Taiwan Strait.
China may try to routinize its actions in an attempt to wreck the long-term status quo across the Taiwan Strait.
Taiwan on its part is getting battle-ready, holding live-fire artillery drills. The training is being used to test combat readiness in response to Chinese aggression post Nancy Pelosi's visit.
Amid tensions between Taipei and Beijing, there are fears that Xi Jinping may be going the Vladimir Putin way. Russia's Z symbol was seen on Chinese military cars. These military vehicles were spotted in the Fujian province. In fact, the Chinese military activity has increased in Fujian, which is the southernmost province closest to the Taiwan Straits, as it were. The Russian military operations in Ukraine were symbolized by the Z symbol. In fact, Russian armored vehicles in Ukraine were all painted with the symbol Z. At least 8 people were killed and 6 others missing in South Korea as heavy rainfall inundated the greater Seoul area. The downpour submerged roads, flooded metro stations. It caused blackouts across the city. Some areas
साथियों, भारत का तिरंगा केवल 3 रंगों को ही स्वयं में नहीं समेटे हैं। हमारा तिरंगा हमारे अतीत के गौरव को, हमारे वर्तमान की कर्तव्य निष्ठा को और भविष्य के सपनों का भी एक प्रतिबिंब है। हमारा तिरंगा भारत की एकता का, भारत की अखंडता का और भारत की विविधता का भी एक प्रतीक है। हमारे सेनानियों ने तिरंगे में देश के भविष्य को देखा, देश के सपनों को देखा और इसे कभी झुकने नहीं दिया। आज आजादी के 75 वर्ष बाद जब हम नए भारत की यात्रा शुरू कर रहे हैं, तो तिरंगा एक बार फिर भारत की एकता और चेतना का प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहा है। मुझे खुशी है कि देश भर में हो रही तिरंगा यात्राओं में, हर घर तिरंगा अभियान में देश की वो शक्ति और भक्ति एक साथ झलक रही है। 13 अगस्त से 15 अगस्त के बीच भारत के हर घर में होगा तिरंगा, भारत के हर घर में फहराएगा तिरंगा। समाज के हर वर्ग, हर जाति, मत, पंथ के लोग स्वतः स्फूर्त एक ऐसे भाव के साथ, एकता की पहचान के साथ, नए सपने और संकल्पों के साथ पूरा देश जुड़ रहा है। ये पहचान है भारत के कर्तव्यनिष्ठ नागरिक की। ये पहचान है मां भारती की संतान की। महिला, पुरुष, नौजवान, बुजुर्ग जो जिस भूमिका में है, इस अभियान में अपना सहयोग दे रहा है, अपना कर्तव्य निभा रहा है। मुझे संतोष है कि हर घर तिरंगा अभियान की वजह से कितने ही गरीबों की, बुनकरों की, हैंडलूम में काम करने वालों की अतिरिक्त आय भी हो रही है। आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव में इस तरह के आयोजन हमारे संकल्पों को एक नई ऊर्जा देंगे। जन भागीदारी के अभियान नए भारत की बुनियाद को मजबूत करेंगे। इसी विश्वास के साथ आप सभी को, गुजरात को, पूरे देश को और खास करके मेरा सूरतना लालाओं ने खूब खूब शुभकामनाओं અને સુરત એકવાર નક્કી કરે ને પછી ક્યારેય પાછી પાણી ન કરે. આ સુરતની વિશેષતા છે. સુરત જે રીતે ધમધમી રહ્યું છે, સુરત જે રીતે પ્રગતિની નવી નવી ઊંચાઈઓ પાર કરી રહ્યું છે, એના મૂળમાં આ મારા સુરતી લાલા છે, આ મારા સુરતના ભાઈઓ બહેનો છે. આજે આ તિરંગા યાત્રાનું અદ્ભુત દ્રશ્ય દેશ માટે પણ પ્રેરક બની રહેશે. મારી તમને બધાને ખૂબ ખૂબ શુભકામનાઓ. ધન્યવાદ.
Big news that we have right now coming through, that the ISIS operative, the lone wolf who was arrested from Azamgarh. We put out the details here at CNN News 18 at 8 p.m. last evening on the right stand. Now we got more details coming through that this man, Sabauddin Azmi, had advanced knowledge to make grenades. And there were top leaders, including Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, as per sources, who were on his radar. Other leaders of the RSS were also on his radar. He was trained to execute grenade attacks from a distance. And he was not only preparing himself for it, he had actually advanced knowledge about how to make grenades and use them. He was by profession an electrician, and he was in touch with ISIS operatives. Suspect radicalized against Hindu groups and top BJP RSS leaders. Security of Yogi Adityanath and other BJP and RSS leaders has been increased. Now, probe into Sabauddin Azmi's terror nexus is currently underway. Whether or not he was in touch and teaching others too. Are there others who are part of his entire group, all operating individually but then connected somehow? Patikrit Payan with us. Patikrit, we put this story out last evening. More details coming through. These lone wolves are are far more danger now. All around us, Anand, inspired by ISIS radicalism.
Anand, it's a very, very dangerous new trend of highly radicalized and yet extremely skillful, elements masquerading as normal citizens, but actually with sinister objectives in mind. The problem is when it comes to virtual radicalization, the model that ISIS takes into it, there is no trail, there is no sleeper cell. You just cannot hold on somebody and get a trail of it and hold on to somebody. Right. Your entire, thing depends upon your technical surveillance and capacity to hold on to that person. Ultimately, Anand, just to make it very short, it's a war of narrative, and you have to choke the funds. There are these organizations like Dawat-e-Islami and Tablighi Jamaat accepted that they are also doing radicalization online. Right. But the country cannot allow them to be here. That is a very important thing. And last but not the least, when it comes to external threat, we know the armed forces are fighting. When it comes to internal threat, there is no clear mandate for any particular organization. Yeah, so the entire internal security architecture, architecture needs radical redefinition. Right. On the line of Department of Homeland Security.
Not just on crackdown on radicals, but radical redefinition of the internal security infrastructure. Patikrit Payan, thank you for your inputs. Winding up the nation at 5 on that note. Very, very short break and Viewpoint follows. Stay with us.
FBI, Trump said a large group of FBI agents were at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach and had broken open a safe. The search was reportedly linked to an investigation into his handling of classified material while he was in office. 23-time Grand Slam winner Serena Williams has announced that she's planning to retire from tennis after the upcoming US Open. In an article in Vogue magazine, the 40-year-old has said that though she will try to win the US Open, it's time for her to move in a different direction. She said that she will evolve away from tennis and focus on other things that are important to her. Superstar Shah Rukh Khan lost his cool when a fan tried to forcefully stop him for a picture at the Mumbai airport. The actor was accompanied by his sons Aryan and Abram. While walking out of the airport, suddenly a fan tried to hold SRK's hand and take a selfie. A visibly angry SRK shook off his hand. Aryan was then seen calming his father down. The streets of Punjab's Firozpur witnessed a dramatic car chase straight out of Fast and Furious.
Two men in a white sedan refused to stop at a police barricade despite being flagged to. So the police decided to follow them in an SUV. The car first brushed a scooter on the side, causing the woman riding it to fall off. At a busy junction, the sedan got stuck behind another car. That's when a cop with a gun in his hand jumped out of the police car behind.
Good evening, this is Viewpoint. I'm Zaka Jacob. Nitish Kumar was sworn into office for the 8th time today and for the 2nd time along with the Mahagathbandhan and with Tejashwi Yadav as his Deputy Chief Minister. And straight after the swearing in, Nitish made a direct attack on Prime Minister Modi. He said that those who came in 2014 need to worry about whether they will be there beyond 2024. The larger question is, can a Nitish Kumar whose personal ambitions could not best Mr. Modi in 2013-14, what chance does he stand in 2024 when brand Modi is perhaps at its biggest? But first, the story of how Nitish Kumar, Mr. U-turn as he's being now called, has hitched his wagons yet again with the RJD and the Mahagathbandhan.
The Mahagathbandhan returns to Bihar. Nitish Kumar took oath as Chief Minister for a record 8th time. And Tejashwi Yadav is back as his deputy. Post the swearing-in ceremony, Nitish Kumar further fueled speculation about his political future with this open challenge to Prime Minister Modi.
हम किसी चीज के उम्मीदवार का हम कोई दावेदारी नहीं, लेकिन इतना तो जरूर कर दीजिए ना कि 14 में जो आए 24 तक के आगे रह पाएंगे कि नहीं रह पाएंगे.
It's been a dramatic 72 hours in Bihar, to say the least. Nitish Kumar suddenly ended his alliance with the BJP and formed the government with Tejashwi Yadav's RJD and 6 other parties.
यही आज की जरूरत है. बिहार की तो जरूरत थी, लेकिन ये देश की जरूरत है. और एक मैसेज पूरे देश में गया, ऑपोजिशन में गया कि लड़ाई लड़ना है तो बिहार से सीखो.
The BJP held a massive protest in Patna, accusing Nitish Kumar of betraying the people's mandate.
De facto चीफ मिनिस्टर तो तेजस्वी यादव है. नीतीश जी तो केवल जिसको ट्यूटुलर हेड कहते हैं वो दिखावे के मुख्यमंत्री होंगे. ये सरकार 2025 पूरा नहीं करेगी.
Nitish Kumar is no stranger to switching alliance partners. Till 2013, he had allied with the BJP. But when it became clear that Narendra Modi would be the NDA's prime ministerial face, he walked out of the alliance and later went on to form the government with the RJD and Congress in 2015. Then in 2017, he accused Tejashwi Yadav and his brother Tej Pratap of corruption and quit the alliance and returned to the NDA.
मैं इस चेंज को बिहार में 10 साल पहले जो राजनीतिक अस्थिरता का दौर शुरू हुआ है 2012-13 से, उसी दिशा में एक नए कड़ी के तौर पर देखता हूं.
Now with Lok Sabha elections less than 2 years away, has Nitish Kumar revived the Grand Alliance to further his prime ministerial ambitions? If this alliance does well, Nitish could emerge as the nucleus of the opposition. But will he be accepted as the face of the opposition when other regional players like Mamata Banerjee and K. Chandrasekhar Rao are nursing their own hopes to be Prime Minister?
All right, before we go across to our guests and to our full panel this evening on Viewpoint, I want to first go across to Union Power Minister R.K. Singh, also Member of Parliament from Bihar. Mr. Singh, thank you very much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. First things first, after taking oath today for the 8th time, Mr. Nitish Kumar came out and spoke to reporters briefly where he said, जो लोग 14 में आए, वो ये फिक्र करें कि वो 24 के बाद रहेंगे कि नहीं रहेंगे. Is he throwing his ring, throwing his hat into the ring to be a potential challenger to Narendra Modi in 2024? I think the message clearly is that he wants to be projected as the face of the opposition against Mr. Modi.
These are statements made just to boost up the morale of his followers. The thing is that Mr. Nitish Kumar has lost a lot of ground, and I think whatever for any credibility he had left, that he's lost this time. Even during the campaigning, during the last elections, a type of anti-incumbency which could be seen wherever he went to campaign would have been noted by everybody. You see, Mr. Nitish Kumar has broken all records of Ayaram Gayaram. There have been many Ayarams, Gayarams in the history of Indian democracy, but in I haven't seen any Ayaram, Gayaram who would have jumped ship 5 times.
Okay.
4 4.5 or 5 times. He's a record holder now of flip-flop, jumping from one ship to another, etc., etc. In fact, Lalu's party, Mr. RJD itself, used to call him Paltu Ram and Kursi Kumar.
No, but tell me this, Mr. Singh. The fact is that now he has jumped ship. He's back with the Mahagathbandhan. The question was asked about his prime ministerial ambition. Do you believe that he has done this move at the fag end of his political career with one eye on the satta in Delhi, as it were? And do you believe the actual controlling of the government and the running of the government in Bihar will be done by Tejashwi Yadav? It's only a matter of time before he is formally anointed the chief minister.
I don't know on what basis he thinks that he can be a PM aspirant, whether Mamata Banerjee will give up her claims to be a PM aspirant, or whether KCR will give up his claim to be a PM aspirant. This fellow is not even having a majority in his own state, and he doesn't have any presence outside the state. But people have misled him, and he's got misled. And it's only pure ambition. You see, there's absolutely no question of any principles behind it. There's no principles behind it. It's just pure personal ambition for clinging on to power, no matter what the compromise he has to make. This is the classic example of politics without principles. Imagine he's joined a party which he has abused over the past many decades as being the most corrupt party in the country, as being responsible for the poor, the area for the period of darkness in Bihar. He was responsible. He was also a party to the prosecution of Lalu Prasad with all his people were party to the prosecution of Lalu Prasad in the Chara Ghotala scam. Against Tejashwi Yadav, he asked Tejashwi Yadav during his last stint to give an explanation about the corruption charges against Tejashwi Yadav, and he kept saying that this is the most corrupt party going, and those people kept calling him as a turncoat, and now this person goes and joins this most corrupt party. What happened to all the charges against Tejashwi and Lalu?
All right, Rarki Singh, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. That's the Union Power Minister. Let me now open this up to our guests, our panel of guests who are joining us this evening on Viewpoint. Guru Prakash Paswan is BJP spokesperson. Dr. Onika Mehrotra, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Mayank Sinha, JDU leader. Chandrachud Singh, political analyst, joining us. Guru Prakash Paswan, the fact of the matter is twofold. As far as the state is concerned, Nitish Kumar wanted to avoid an Eknath Shinde-like situation in the state. He thought the BJP was using RCP Singh to do a Shinde operation in Bihar. Therefore, he wanted to fortify his position. He's done that with this coming back to the Mahagathbandhan. And secondly, what he said today, जो लोग 14 के बाद आए, वो ये ध्यान रखें कि 24 के बाद वो रहेंगे कि नहीं रहेंगे. So he's clearly saying or throwing his hat into the ring for his national ambitions.
Zaka, I don't think there is any value to what Nitish Kumarji is now saying. Only, see, Zaka, this is the day and age of social media. Only yesterday I saw a video where Mr. Nitish Kumar on the floor of the Vidhan Sabha in Bihar said, "Mitti mein mil jayenge, in logon ke saath nahi jayenge." So many flip-flops. This person is now institutionalizing the entire idea of U-turn. But what we need to understand here, this is not only the breach of the trust of the people of Bihar, this is a huge breach of mandate. If you do a statistical analysis of what happened in 2020, and Zaka, we must understand that 2020 assembly election were remarkable in multiple ways. It was the first election between the pandemic and not only in the country, globally, I think election of such scale and magnitude, it was sort of a commentary on the performance of the government. In that election, the highest strike rate, BJP contested 110, we won 74. JDU contested 110, they won 43. RJD contested more than 135, they won 4 more than us. So the point is this is a clear-cut case of betrayal of mandate. But we are not surprised. If you look at the track record of Mr. Nitish Kumar, you have been following politics very closely. 10 seconds, Zaka. George Fernandes, he betrayed. Sharad Yadav, he betrayed. former Union Minister of State for Railways Digvijay Singh from Bihar, he betrayed. Jaya Jetli, who played a formidable role in the formation of Samta Party, he betrayed. So he's a track record. We are not surprised at all, but the people of Bihar, the people of country and a section of opposition who are seeing hope in him. This hope is highly misplaced. Mr. Nitish Kumar said similar things in 2014, but what was the result of 2014?
The question is about the credibility of Nitish Kumar. He may have prime ministerial ambitions. Ambition is not a crime in politics. But the point is, how seriously will the people of India take him? This is a gentleman who has had alliance with you twice in the past now. He has shifted 5 times in the last 10 years. Why should the people of India take such a person who's done U-turn after U-turn